Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're taking some really complex, honestly kind of intimidating macroeconomic concepts, and we're breaking them all down using a brilliantly simple framework. We're calling it the monkey economy. So let's just swing right into the jungle, shall we? Okay, let's dive into this by starting with that sheer panic every single monkey feels when they hear the dreaded R word. You know the drill, the jungle whispers always start exactly the same way. The recession is coming. Beware the recession. Hold on to your mango. It perfectly captures that universal gut instinct we all have to just immediately clutch our resources and brace for impact. But before we completely lose our grip out of pure fear, we really need to understand what we're actually panicking about. Which leads us to a massive foundational question. What exactly is a recession? Honestly, if you ask two monkey economists, you're going to get three different answers. But while they are constantly up at their chalkboards debating the precise technicalities, there's one universally agreed upon truth out there in the jungle. Recession equals bad. So how is this badness actually measured? Well, it all comes down to GDP. Now, does that stand for gorillas do Pilates? Not quite, though honestly, I would definitely pay a few leaves to see that. It actually stands for gross domestic product. Put simply, it's the total value of literally everything a monkey country produces, like harvested fruits and crafted tools, combined with all the services it provides, like, professional tree climbing or shelter building. It is the ultimate measuring stick for the size, the output, and the overall health of the entire economy. So, the crucial point is, how does GDP actually signal that we're entering a recession? It all boils down to the number 2. Look, economies naturally ebb and flow. That's normal. But mainstream economists generally define a recession as GDP dropping for at least 2 quarters in a row. That is 6 consecutive months of the economy shrinking instead of growing. But it is absolutely vital to realize that not all economic drops are created equal. I want you to imagine the economy as green leaves blowing gently in the wind. In a technical recession, the GDP dips just a tiny bit. The leaves are just moving slower. But in a full-blown depression, the GDP absolutely plummets. The leaves almost stop entirely, leaving the monkeys completely devastated. So it's the severity and the duration that really dictate the label. So what stops the wind in the first place? Well, it usually starts with a sudden shock to the monkey economy. We're talking natural disasters, a monkey pandemic, or, politicians acting absolutely bananas at the podium. Or it could be deeper economic imbalances, things like popping asset bubbles, rampant inflation, holding way too much high-interest debt, or the central bank abruptly hiking rates. Honestly, sometimes just the overwhelming collective fear of a recession is enough to actually cause one to happen. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens next, because once that initial shock hits, it spirals incredibly fast. Just watch this vicious downward snowball effect. Step 1, an economic shock hits. Let's say oil prices shoot way up. Step 2, because basic survival suddenly costs more, monkeys start spending fewer leaves. Step 3, less consumer spending means monkey businesses see their profits absolutely plummet. Step 4, falling profits force those bosses to cut jobs. And step 5, those newly unemployed monkeys now spend even less than they did before. It is a vicious, self-fulfilling cycle, and it leads straight to rising poverty and government instability. But here is the truly tricky part about all of this. As the old jungle saying goes, recessions are like the good old days. You don't know you're in them until you've left. It is notoriously difficult to confidently spot a recession in real time. Why? Because economists rely on backward-looking data. So the official stamped declaration of a recession often takes months to catch up to the very real financial pain that everyday monkeys are already feeling on a daily basis. That being said, if you know where to look, the clues are literally everywhere. Businesses are officially struggling when they start rebranding their leftover inventory as new products, or greenlighting terrible Part 6 movie sequels just for a desperate cash grab. And on the consumer side, you'll see everyday monkeys buying single mangoes on installment plans, completely skipping live concerts to save a few leaves, or suddenly binge-watching content about economic collapse. Okay, so the warning signs are flashing red, the leaves are barely moving, and the economy is clearly in a massive slump. What happens next? How do governments actually step in and fix it? Assuming, of course, the monkey government didn't accidentally start the fire in the first place, what concrete tools do they actually have to get the GDP growing again? Well, they actually have a few direct levers they can pull. Monkey governments can send leaf stimulus checks straight to the citizens to force immediate spending, or they can cut mango taxes to give everyone some much-needed financial breathing room. They can also heavily subsidize key businesses to prevent bankruptcies or launch massive public works, literally building entirely new roads, bridges, and transit systems. All of these direct actions are intentionally designed to manufacture new jobs and forcefully pump leaves back into the ecosystem. But their absolute most powerful tool revolves around one core concept, and that is interest rates. Simply put, this is the cost of borrowing leaves from the monkey bank. Whether you're a monkey wanting to buy a brand new treehouse or a business wanting to expand your banana stand, the interest rate dictates exactly how expensive it is to get the capital you need to actually do it. Let's move to and see how this builds into a step-by-step recovery. When the economy is struggling, the government will aggressively cut those interest rates, which triggers a massive chain reaction. Suddenly, it becomes significantly cheaper for businesses to borrow. Because that capital is cheap, businesses confidently expand, and they start hiring again. Those newly hired workers now have a steady stream of leaves in their pockets, and they go out and spend them. That vicious downward spiral we saw earlier, lowering rates completely reverses it into a positive engine of growth. Now, what's really interesting about this timeline is, when you are actually living through a downturn, it genuinely feels like the sky is falling and it's going to last forever. But history tells a profoundly different and honestly reassuring story. The Great Monkey Depression of the 1920s took over 10 years to recover from. The 2008 housing crisis, that took about 2 years. The 2020 pandemic shock, the economy bounced back in less than 1 year. Recessions do end, the GDP does recover, and the historical data clearly shows our modern interventions are actually making those recoveries remarkably faster. But just because recoveries are getting faster, that definitely doesn't mean we shouldn't brace for the drop. So, how do we prepare for the next one? Now, a quick disclaimer here. I am an enthusiastic explainer, so this is definitely not financial advice. Please do not sue a monkey. But there are highly practical, actionable steps you can take right now to build your own personal safety net. So here is your jungle preparation checklist. First, start by building an emergency fund. Really aim to hoard 3 to 6 months of your basic living expenses. Next, aggressively sever your high-interest debt so it doesn't drag you down, and trim those unnecessary luxury expenses. Make absolutely sure to diversify your investments so all your mangoes aren't just sitting in one single basket. And finally, stay educated. Keeping your skills sharp makes you highly valuable in the job market, no matter what the broader economy decides to do. Because the truth is, while we can prepare, the risks never truly vanish, do they? I mean, we are constantly navigating skyrocketing housing and rent prices. Everyday groceries and gas are undeniably more expensive, and tuition costs just keep climbing. Literally everything is turning into a monthly subscription, even the ones that still infuriatingly force you to watch ads after you've already paid. And hovering ominously over all of this, the growing fear of AI coming in and taking our jobs. The jungle's just a deeply volatile place. Which brings us to a core philosophy for navigating literally any economy, good or bad. Apes together strong. Understanding how the economic machine actually works, knowing what triggers a downturn, and seeing exactly how it recovers, that is your absolute best defense against the panic. So my final question to you is this. Looking back at that preparation checklist, which specific step are you going to take today to shockproof your own branch of the jungle? Take action on it. And hey, if you enjoyed untangling the economy with us today, make sure to subscribe. Stay curious, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next explainer.